what's going on, everybody? It's Rich Perez welcoming you back into your weekly dose of the rundown. Of course, joined in always by my bro co-host all the way out of Miami, Kayson Davis. What's going on, Kay? How you doing, man?
Thank you, man. I always love the applause, man. I'm doing good. How you?
I'm doing real good. Shout out to you, man. The Mike McCoy show, Sirius XM today. Love to see it.
Yeah, definitely, man. Shout out my guy Mike McCoy for having me on. Y'all make sure y'all go check out his show, man. The Mike McCoy show on Sirius XM channel 145 Slam Radio. Usually comes on at noon, so make sure y'all check him out and check out the episode of me. It'll be on iTunes later, man. I was out there talking some Thunder hoops, some Jazz Game 6. So shout out to Mike again.
Definitely shout out to him, man. Giving a shout out to the podcast. We always love that. So it's a heavy recap episode for you guys this week, man. And I guess what I wanted to start off with, part of me, I got the Miami game in the background. 111-104, 57 seconds left in the fourth quarter. Miami up. You already know what it is. So I wanted to get started off the bat with the Boston Celtics going up against the Toronto Raptors in the first semifinal matchup over in the Eastern Conference. And I got to give you your credit here, Kayson, because I was not expecting it to be the blowout that it was. But Boston went and did that. I feel like we both kind of – I know you said 6, but I feel like we both kind of feel like that could go 7. You know, you see the score and you're thinking crazy things already, but a game one, you don't want to overreact to that. But, yeah, man, when you was watching that, what were your thoughts?
Like you said, you don't want to overreact too much to a game one. It's only a game one. I think alarming stat that came up to me during the game is that the whole time, I think the last time the Raptors lost was to the Boston Celtics. And I think they may be the only team that they lost to in the bubble, but don't quote me on that. But I think alarming to me that it was kind of a blowout. I feel like, I know I thought I picked Boston to win, but like I said, even with me picking to win, we kind of expected maybe go 6-7. So we expect to be a long series. Only a game one, but for it to kind of be a blowout, I think Boston to come out and kind of punch them in the face right away in the game one might wake Toronto up. So I think it could be a good, bad thing. Toronto kind of coming off an easy series, kind of just getting rid of the Nets kind of out of there, that depleted team and things like that. So maybe this is kind of what the Raptors needed coming off that kind of quick series. I know Boston was in a 4-0 sweep too, but I think Philly kind of gave more of a tougher matchup than maybe the Nets did. So it's going to be interesting. Siakam didn't play too well, which could be alarming because if he doesn't play too well, I think Toronto is definitely going to go home in this series. So he kind of has to pick it up and things like that. Like I said, we talked about it on here before. They're two good defensive teams. So, I can't remember the coach's name right now.
Nick Nurse?
Steve. What's the Boston Celtics coach name right now? I don't know why it slipped my mind.
Oh, man.
Brad Stevens. Yeah.
Yes.
Him being the great coach that he is, that he was going to come out and throw little wrinkles at Siakam and stuff like that. So Siakam's going to have to adjust. And after Siakam adjusts, I think everyone else kind of fall in line. It'd be the close series that we expect.
Well, I think the one thing too to monitor is Kyle Lowry's not 100%. I think he was even questionable going into that game one. So you got to that's their leader, of course. You got to see how he's doing with everything. But the other thing, like they've got the coach. Toronto's got the coach of the year over there, so I think he's gonna. But number one, it's alarming that it got that out of hand because one of the things I was looking for in that series was like a coaching duel. Like I'm watching this Heat Bucks series right now. We've shout out to Miami, by the way, up 115-104. That's the final score. So Miami goes up 1-0. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But that was like one of the things that I talked about going into that to that specific series was a coaching duel there between those two guys. So when it's not close like that, clearly Brad Stevens got the better of the matchup. But, I expect Nick Nurse to get these guys ready to go for that game too. And then I definitely agree with what you were saying too. Like, routing the Brooklyn Nets the way that they did probably had them like a little lulled to sleep a bit. And, this is maybe the wake-up call that they needed. So I'm not going to read too much into it, but like going into that game too, if things don't pick up as you expect them to, then that's a whole nother thing. So.
Yeah, definitely. I think I expect it to be better. I expect Nick Nurse to come back and make the changes that he's going to make, and then like you said, it's a coaching duel. So game one, you got punched in the face, but you come back. So I think he's gonna make the proper adjustments to get back out there. And then I think what kind of happened in that game is kind of what I talked about. It's when you in the playoffs, it kind of comes down to having shot creators and things like that because you're playing a team, even though it's only game one, you're gonna play this team multiple times over the next couple of weeks, and multiple athletes have come out and said it, NBA players and things like that. When you play a team over and over and over, it doesn't come down to who's running the better offense because now we know we've seen your offense for the last 3 or 4 games. We've seen you. We know what you're going to do. We know your plays and things like that. It's going to come down to adjustments, and it's really going to come down to who has the players who can kind of create something out of nothing when the play gets broken down because we've been running. I hate to say it, but we've been running the same play for the last all season and in the last playoffs and last series and things like that, and this whole series and things like that. So that's why I kind of went with pick Boston, and it's making my pick look really good because they have just the shot creators to go out there and create a shot when you got to make something out of nothing.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. So definitely, because I feel like that should be a fun series to watch too, like aside from that. So like when I looked at that score, I'm just like, wow. So definitely going to be one like coming in. They're playing tomorrow, I'm pretty sure. So I'll be dialed into that and we'll see what happens. So anyway, let's go over to the West real quick. So I'd rather start with the Oklahoma City Thunder versus the Houston Rockets, considering that game is also on right now. Oklahoma City up 2-0 to start. One of the things we talked about every time we talked about this series was specifically as the series has gone on. The Rockets have looked like the better team, for most of the series. And then those 2 games that Oklahoma City was able to win were two come from behind victories where the Rockets kind of gave it away a little bit. But the Rockets have looked like the better team. Now, last game, Russell Westbrook is inserted his first game back from that quadricep strain. While he only had 7 points, the energy that he brings while he's in there was definitely felt, I feel like. And, it was a spark for them. They routed the Oklahoma City Thunder. They're up 3-2 right now in the series in a closeout game playing right now. The other thing I've noticed in this series, and we talked about it a little bit last time we brought this up, but it was noticeable last time they played. Very chippy series.
Yeah, you kind of expected that. Think about all the storylines that was coming in. The Chris Paul versus James Harden thing. We don't know how that ended really too well. I mean, there's no beef between Russell Westbrook and the Oklahoma City Thunder, but that storyline. Also, you got to remember James Harden was traded from OKC to Houston. So there was a whole lot of things in there that, you kind of expected that, especially with CP, the fierce leader that he is and things like that. Russell Westbrook, like he says, he has no friends on the court. He got into it with Steven Adams, which is kind of surprising. So things like that, you kind of expect it to be a little chippy, PJ Tucker and things like that. So I'm not a little surprised that it's chippy. I think Russell Westbrook brings an interesting thing to the series because I think last game he kind of he's that one player who's kind of like the big for them. So like when he's not there, everyone else is kind of just chucking up threes and things like that. He's the one who kind of changes it for him. He changes the pace. He gets them running. He gets them getting shots at the layups. I think him coming back last game kind of motivated them to go get more shots at the rim. I seen Eric Gordon driving a little bit and not putting up as many threes and things like that. So I think that'd be an interesting twist if Russ comes in and kind of, they're still going to shoot their threes. They're the Rockets and things like that. But him bringing that little just twist in there to kind of him driving and he's creating shots off of that. But him maybe getting other people to think like, hey, my shot's not going. Let me get to the rim. Let me do things like that. So if he comes in and he's going to be creating that type of thing, it kind of changes the whole series around. Now it's going to be up to OKC to make the adjustment.
Yeah, and I know I even saw some Rockets writers say that they expect Oklahoma City to be able to make certain adjustments in there. But I mean, Russ is the game changer. That's why they brought him over there. We talked about it all season. They went from near dead last in pace of play, excuse me, to the top 3. And as you said, when his shot's not falling, he affects the game in so many different ways. Like right now, it drives up to the lane, scores to tie the game at 2 apiece. So that's just one thing to monitor there. I want to get to you though. My man has said Oklahoma City is the 3rd best team in the Western Conference. Is the confidence still there, or do you believe the Oklahoma City Thunder are getting closed out tonight?
That's a good question. I think it's going to come down to Billy Donovan. I think the last 3 years, it's kind of been like, to me, he's one of those coaches that kind of likes to stick to what got him here. So I think him making the proper adjustments comes down if OKC can push it to Game 7 or not. In game 3 or 4, OKC, they went small. I mean, Steven Adams got hurt at like the end of game 3, so they were kind of forced to go small. But game 4, they went small too. I've kind of been saying this over and over. I think they should go small because at the end of in the first 2 games, I guess the first one they kind of wasn't in it, but the second one they were in it. And then Dort, who shout out to Dort, he's doing a great job on James Harden. Coach wants to take him out to go his 3-guard set, but he wants to stay big. So he does that. He takes Dort out. So now the best defender that you have on James Harden, who's making it real tough for James Harden in the series, is now out. So now James Harden was able to get off at the end of game 1 and game 2. So game 3 and game 4, he made that adjustment to go small. Now also Gallinari's struggling too. So you maybe want to move him to the 4 and maybe see if he can get something going there. But that's what it comes down to me. If he can make the proper adjustments, I think towards the end of the game, you might want to go small a little more. I think that's been working for them. If he's able to do that, and you have to keep Dort in. I don't care what you have to do. You have to keep Dort in. I know he's been hurting their offense. He definitely hurt their offense the last game in game 5. But I think this is the job he's been doing on James Harden, and you can see the difference. I think James Harden's made the little adjustments to kind of figure him out a little bit. But you can see the difference in that, like I said, in that game 2 at the end. As soon as Dort went out, James Harden starts going off. I mean, I think he hit a little post up on a shooter. Then he comes down, hits a 3. So he's able to get off. He's able to be more freely to play like James Harden. So I think you keep Dort out there on him, kind of go small. But it's interesting because, like I said, that's why I said Westbrook brings a different dynamic because you kind of don't know what problems he's going to cause. He didn't play too well in that game 1. So you figure he plays well in this game. It might just be a problem that they can't overcome in this short amount of time.
Yeah, and I mean, it's 6-5 right now. Oklahoma City ball, 8 minutes to go in the first quarter. So, we'll see how it goes from there. But, I mean, Oklahoma City looks good so far. It's pretty early to really say too much there. But great points by you. And to move on now, we had the L.A. Clippers. No. I don't want to go to the L.A. Clippers. I want to go to the Lakers, who went and just poo-pooed on my Blazers in 7 pick. So, Damian Lillard left the bubble. He's hurt with the knee injury and everything. So once we heard that news, we were like, a lot of people are already saying the series is probably over, but now it's like, all right, the series is over. Now, with that being said, no Damian Lillard. CJ McCollum is playing with a fracture in his back. This series was still, that game was still close. So I went from giving the Lakers all of this praise the previous game, saying they finally look like the championship contenders I expect them to be, to going back to what I have been saying the whole time, that they've been in the bubble. They don't look as impressive to me, especially against a short-handed Blazers team. So when you watch that series, what are you thinking?
I think the Lakers look great, if you ask me. I think the game was close, but CJ, he put up 32. I think Melo had like 25. Anthony Simons comes in. He's playing good. So Gary Trent's been playing good the whole bubble. I know even though McCollum's playing with the back, you saw what he's been able to do with the back injury, which is kind of interesting to me that Dame leaves because of his knee, but CJ has a bad back and he stays. I think that's kind of interesting to me. Not saying he should have played through it or anything, but he was the main one saying if we come to this bubble, we come to get in the playoffs. You're down 3-1, you hurt your knee, you leave. Your boy's playing with a broken back. I don't know. It kind of looks bad to me a little bit, but that's besides the point. I think the Lakers are good. Even the way they come out that win, AD, what he had 43 in that game. I think to me, AD's been looking good. I think everyone else can kind of not come along, but if AD's being AD, I think we kind of talked about on here, AD's kind of the X factor for them. We know we're going to get out of Bron. The role players are going to be the role players. They're going to have good games. They're going to have bad games. What makes them kind of a difficult team is AD. And that's even when we talk about the next series that then they're playing the Rockets, what I have to say about, like, AD creates so much different mismatches. Like, the Blazers just didn't have anyone they can put on AD. If AD's going to give you 43, AD's going to be doing things like that. It just makes the game easier for Bron. It kind of makes the games easier for role players and things like that. But to me, it comes down to AD for them. So AD looking good. I think that looks good. Caldwell Pope has been able to kind of turn around. His kind of struggling from game 1.
He's playing well.
Yeah, so that things like that. So I think AD makes it easier for everyone. As long as AD's playing good, they're looking good to me. Bron looked good in the series too. So I think without CJ and everything that was going on, the boycott, the couple of days off and things like that, maybe they kind of came into the game a little lackadaisical. But to still come out that win and not have them push it to a game 7 and AD looking great, I think they look great to me.
I mean, that's all fine and dandy, but it goes back to what I have been saying the whole time. I'm not worried about how LeBron James and Anthony Davis look for the Lakers. They're gonna ball. They're gonna do their thing. I need to know what the Lakers as a whole look like, and that's why I haven't picked them to go all the way to win a championship. And again, when you talk about like they won that game because of those two guys. Now, when you're playing a better team, you're going to need other guys to step up, and that's been the theme of this whole thing is that they haven't had other guys that could consistently knock down shots. That one game I talked about where I praised them, the team for finally looking right, they were knocking down shots. But that's just not something we've been able to see now. I believe the Houston Rockets will be playing the next series. We and you talked a little bit about this 2 days ago, and you made some some valiant points in regards to what they were able to do to stop Portland, who was just on a crazy scoring streak between what Damian Lillard was doing and then the other guys being able to plug in and put up points for them as well. But when you had said that, my rebuttal to that was, that the Portland Trailblazers are kind of running on fumes right now. Obviously, they're not healthy, but, they have been playing playoff basketball from the minute that they got into the bubble. So it was kind of hard for that to be able to carry on. Now, in terms of the Houston Rockets, your point, again, the point you make about the consistency with them is also valid. But the Lakers haven't been, when they've matched up with the Lakers in the regular season, specifically the small ball lineup, the Lakers haven't exactly been able to match that full force. So that's going to, in a 7-game series, that's going to be something that I'm looking out for there.
Yeah, definitely. I think Portland, like you said, they were playing a whole bunch of playoff games, and maybe that can come. Running on fumes like that, you can kind of run out. But I think when you're running on fumes like that and the great defense that the Lakers was playing, it kind of just made it tough altogether. So, like, I think the Lakers defense deserves a lot of credit. If you look at the difference in between game one and the rest of the games, AD is kind of sagging off the screen a little bit. They kind of wasn't guarding him like how you guard Curry. Kind of like what I was talking about what the Jazz should do. They should maybe blitz Donovan Mitchell off the pick and roll and force the big to catch it at the free throw line and kind of make a play. I think the Lakers started closing that little gap. If you look at the end of that game one, when Dame hit that big three to kind of win the game, he comes off the screen and AD is sagging off a little bit. He has enough space to kind of take that shot from half court. I think AD is now pushing up on him. So when he comes off the screen, he sees someone, he has to go around. I think that kind of threw off their offense a little bit. So I think that the defensive adjustment that the Lakers made deserves a little credit to me. And to get into the series with the Houston Rockets, I think my problem with that is that the Lakers and the Houston Rockets want you to go small. So they want you to adjust to them and things like that. I think where the Lakers might have the advantage in this series is that they can go small but stay big. AD's been playing well if he keeps that up. Like I was saying, that's why if AD plays well, I think the Lakers have a good shot. We know, like I said multiple times, we're going to get out of Bron. AD hasn't been in the playoffs that much. He was there 2 times. He played decent. But we didn't know how he was going to play with the bright lights on him, being the number 1 seed, and kind of being the main focal point of the offense. Bron has been taking kind of a backseat to give it to AD. So now next round, the Lakers can go small. You play AD at the 5. AD, you figure he can guard PJ Tucker. You kind of bring him away from the rim a little bit, but you're still able to play small and be big at the same time. So now when you get those mismatches where it's like Russell Westbrook on AD and things like that, you're able to throw it down in the post. The thing about this OKC series is that, you can kind of throw into Steven Adams, and he's like 7'1", and he's big and he's strong, but his post game is not there where AD is. So AD gets that mismatch. It's most likely probably a bucket. So that's going to be interesting to see what the Lakers end up doing in that situation. Do you stay big? Do you go small and try to match up with them, but kind of stay big with AD? And how the Houston Rockets kind of guard the switches and things like that? And who do they feel comfortable leaving AD on in a one-on-one? So next series, again, to me, is going to come down how well AD plays. If AD plays, he just creates a mismatch to me that Houston probably can't match up with.
Well, the only thing where I would disagree with that is, like, let's go back and look at the times that they played each other. AD's played very well against them, but the Rockets have still been able to come out on top because you look at the differential there. The Lakers are going to out rebound them. Of course, they're going to kill them in the paint. But where the Rockets have excelled at is, their numbers. They shoot the heck out of the 3 ball, and 3 versus 2, three's gonna win about every time. So when the shots falling, and it goes back to what I had been saying in regards to the Lakers, the other Lakers not playing consistent. Like, again, the point about the Rockets not playing good basketball consistently, and what we know they're capable of doing consistently is well taken. But we know that all those other, Russ and James are going to do their thing, but those other guys, we know we're going to get production out of them. The Eric Gordons, the PJ Tuckers, the Austin Rivers, things like that. We still have those questions about everybody else in the Lakers lineup. So, this is just going to be something that I'm looking to. And let's not, get ahead of ourselves here. It's a tie. It's a closeout game. Rockets are up 10-8, but, Oklahoma City could very well send this to a game 7, as we just saw with the Denver Nuggets and the Utah Jazz.
Yeah, I think the Rockets, the one thing for the Rockets, though, is that Westbrook struggled in game 5. He cannot struggle going into
Yeah,
the
but I'm
second
not going to
series.
kill him for that. It's his
No,
first
no.
back.
Yeah, definitely not. I'm saying my point in bringing that up is his rhythm's not there. Like I said before, we don't know how well his rhythm is. I brought it up last week that you might want to get him in here for a couple games because you were saying maybe you save him game 6. I was saying if he could play, you get him in there for a couple games so when you get to the Lakers series, he has that rhythm. Because if he would have got out there in game 1 with no rhythm looking like how he did in that game 5, they probably go down 0-1. They probably don't win that game. So that's what I'm saying. Westbrook has to get his rhythm back in these next couple of games. It's early in this game, so we're going to see how he plays. But he has to get his rhythm back, and he has to be going in that game, in that series. If you think about back in the time they played when the small ball thing, I think it's like back in February or March or something like that. And Westbrook was kind of the difference. He was able to they tried to put AD on him. He was able to take advantage of things like that with the big being on him. They're trying to trap James Harden a little bit. So if Russ is not on, the Rockets would definitely have a problem. So you figure you got this game, maybe a couple of days of practice before. But if Westbrook's not on, that's another problem Houston has. And as far as the Lakers, it's gonna for me that game came down to the fourth quarter. And AD's problem all season has been not showing up in the fourth quarters. He's been the man three quarters out of every game. In the fourth quarter, he hasn't been showing up. I think in his playoffs, he's kind of been showing up a little bit in the fourth quarter. So if he's playing well and he's showing up in the fourth quarter, then it's going to be interesting. I might pick that one to go 7. Like I said, if Westbrook's back and he has his rhythm, AD's playing well in the fourth quarter, I think it's up in the air.
Yeah, most def, man. And it's game's actually looking pretty exciting right now. As you can see, I keep looking in the corner every time. So that definitely gonna be one to watch. Clippers closed out the Dallas Mavericks yesterday in six games. The Dallas Mavericks are gonna be a very good team moving forward. Luka Doncic is gonna be a star in this league if he's not already. They played good, but what we saw in that Clippers in that series is that Kawhi once again showed that he is one of the top playoff performers in this league year in and year out. For all the flack he gets about, what he does in the regular season or doesn't do in the regular season, come playoff time, he is going to shine. But I don't want to focus on that. And the Clippers are my pick to win it. Believe it or not, even though I've come on here and talked about the Rockets a lot, the Clippers are my pick to win it. What I want to talk about with the Clippers is, PG looked great in game 5. He needed it. But now game 6 comes around and you're putting up 15 points, my man. That's just not gonna cut it. And look, they won. They won pretty handily in part, well, in most part due to Kawhi. But those offensive struggles have got to stop if the Clippers want to get any farther. So what did you see from that series?
I think kind of what we expected after that game 4. Me and you both came on here and said that we expected to end in 6. So ending in 6 like we expected. I came on here and said that I think that the Clippers can get through the series without Paul George playing well. Now, without him playing well, it may have went 7. He came in, he stepped up in that game 5. He didn't play that well in game 6, but I give him credit with Marcus Morris going out from that flagrant foul. I seen him out there guarding not Porzingis. Shout out to Porzingis. I hope he gets better because he's hurt. But Luka Doncic, I seen him out there guarding Luka Doncic. And that's kind of what we need from him. As the series goes on, he's going to have to step up and play better offensively. But from this series, he said he's going through some struggles off the court, and that's understandable with everything that's going on in the bubble and everything that's going on in the world. But he did some things defensively, which was good. And then he's going to have to pick it up. I think, like I said, Kawhi will be able to get them out of this series. You hope that PG comes along. He can't have another series like this when he has one good game. I don't know if he played well in game 1, but if he has one good game and then they might be able to squeak past the next series, but when you get to the conference finals, he's definitely going to have to play well offensively and defensively for them to win. So from what I see from the series is that, like you said, Luka's a star. He's out here hooping. And the Mavericks are going to be something in this league for the next couple of years, so teams don't have to worry about it. They had the number 1 offense this year, so if they come back with another number 1 offense, everything they learned from this playoff run, they're going to be tough. And Kawhi can get you out of a series. PG has to play better, and if his struggles continue, I don't think the Clippers can win a championship. But as I said before, I think Kawhi can get you out of the series.
Yeah, most def, man. The other thing in the other, can you hear that?
I don't know if
Yeah, please ignore that. Anyway, um, so the other thing I kind of wanted to note in that series was Porzingis going down with the meniscus tear. I still think the Clippers would have been able to get through that fine, but you know, we have to have that conversation about Kristaps Porzingis' long-term health going forward, because he's dealt with injuries consistently since he's been in this league, and you want those two together. Though that's your duo right there, and they're gonna do amazing things. They're both amazing players, but that's starting to look pretty shaky moving forward now.
Yeah, definitely. Him coming off the ACL injury is already maybe a little alarming. With someone 7'3" like that, they're kind of more likely to get hurt, especially with their knees. So them having knee problems is definitely not a good thing. That's something that they're gonna have to keep up with. I think going from here on out, I think that the Mavs would probably take a Kawhi approach, maybe sit them back-to-back games, maybe sit him a couple games throughout the season for rest and things like that. And just make sure he's ready for the playoffs, because they don't want another situation like this. I know, like you said, I expected the Mavs to still win that series in 6 before we knew Porzingis was out. So I think just in the future, you monitor his knees and you really watch that. You rest him some games, send him back-to-back. You take the Kawhi approach. A lot of low management coming up for him in the future, basically with his knees. So that you just make sure he's ready for the playoffs, and I think the Mavs will be all right.
Yeah, most def, most def. So again, we'll see how that is. But the Clippers have a matchup with either the Utah Jazz or the Denver Nuggets in this next round. Now, we talked about this. We talked about that series last week when we recorded. They were going into Game 6 at the time, and I told all of you the Nuggets were not going to go down like that, and they did not. They went to a Game 6. Now, I will admit when I'm wrong. I did say they were going to get closed out at 6. They're going to a Game 7. If you have missed these games, you are missing out on some great performances, because Donovan Mitchell and Jamal Murray have been out here killing it with 50-point games. In the last 3 games, Jamal Murray has had 50, 43, and 50. The Denver Nuggets have gotten to a Game 7 on the back of Jamal Murray. A lot of the things that Kayson has pointed out in this series why Utah has been successful are completely true, but Jamal Murray is looking like that dude right now, and he is doing his thing.
Yes, shout out to Jamal Murray. He is single-handedly willed them to a Game 7. Now, Nurkic just came on a little bit the last 2 games too, which has been a great help. But Jamal Murray and Donovan Mitchell, it's just been just a young superstar duo. I know I brought it up before, but I seen on ESPN Vince Carter had brought up that it's looking like it reminds him like that 0-1 Vince Carter versus Allen Iverson kind of thing, which is kind of exactly what I get from it. Both guys going on for 50, 151 game. One has 51 game, one has 50 another game. Some games they both got 50. So I think it's crazy. I did not expect it to get to Game 7 at all. I thought they were over in 5. Like you said, I was on here talking about just all the defensive struggles, offensive struggles that Utah was creating for them, and I just thought Denver couldn't get out that funk. I thought they wouldn't be able to figure out what the issues were there. Like I said, I thought you had to take Nurkic off the floor. They didn't have to do that. They got Gary Harris back, which is a great addition for them to get back. I think now the Nuggets have all the momentum. I think it's the Nuggets series to lose again. I think you come out these last 2 games, you kind of shock everybody. Jamal Murray's playing out of his mind. If he continues to play out of his mind, then he still has to, Donovan Mitchell's kind of matching blow for blow. But I think they have all the momentum. Jeremy Grant's out there playing well, hitting some shots. Like I said, the Joker has been able to come on, and he's been able to find his rhythm a little bit. Gary Harris back. He was here the last 2 games. I expect him to kind of play better now going into this Game 7 with having a couple games under him. So I think just winning those 2 games, I think their confidence is back. I think the games before that, maybe they were down. I think Jamal Murray probably has to keep it up, but I think it's the Denver Nuggets game to lose.
Yeah, man. And I mean, there's no luck in a 7 game series. The better team wins in 7 games. So, um, you know, it is it is what it is. I definitely agree that their confidence is for sure up there right now. But on the flip side to that, like from the fans' perspective, kind of rather see the Clippers play Denver as far as a competitive thing goes. I feel like in terms of matchups, the Clippers would probably be able to get through the Utah Jazz with relative ease. They're not, I wouldn't call it sweep or anything like that, but that'd be an easier series for them to get through than it would against Denver. And I'd still pick them against Denver. But the Denver Nuggets, they've got their depth there with some young, longer guys and things like that the Utah Jazz just don't have. So if you're the Clippers, who would you rather who do you think they'd rather be playing?
To me, I think I'd rather play the Nuggets, and here's why. You saw what I came on here and said, and I just said it. You saw what Utah was able to do against the Joker. They almost ran him off the court. If I'm the Clippers, I got Kawhi now and maybe PG in them same situations, whether it's a switch with him, whether it's coming off that pick and roll. And I have 2 guys. The Utah has 1. So you have 1 guy who you kind of struggle with trying to handle that situation. I'm going to have 2 who's coming at you the same way, and they're better players than that 1 guy that the last team you played had. So I think I can create some of those same mismatches, if not worse, with 2 better players. So I think maybe I would rather play the Nuggets. You think they have Jamal Murray. So either way, each team kind of has like 1 superstar has been going off. So I figure that's maybe Kawhi's defensive assignment. So I think Kawhi be able to stop and slow down the Jamal Murray a lot. And I think they'll be able to kind of maybe do the same things that Utah did and kind of ease kind of Joker out the game and make it real difficult for him. And I don't think he did that. Maybe something they'll be able to figure out with 2 of them creating those type of mismatches.
Most def. I agree with you there. The other thing though, for me is, Kawhi's gonna do his thing. I don't think Pat Bev is even playing yet. I think he's still sidelined. But again, going back to Paul George, I need him to consistently play like a number 2 option on a championship contender is supposed to play, especially in this series against Denver, because they've been in the playoffs a couple years now. They've got that experience. They're just a better team. So I need him to come out and do what is expected of him, what he's been paid to do. So that's just kind of what I'll be looking for there. But you make valid points in what you're saying there.
I also think that Gobert will create more defensive problems for them getting in the paint. He's been a 3-time, maybe 2-time defensive player of the year. With him just kind of packing that paint and things like that, he definitely makes it tougher for players to get in the paint and things like that. So I think Utah creates Denver. They have better matchups with Denver, I think, and I think Gobert creates another defensive problem for them if they ended up playing Utah. So I think that's just another reason why they probably – I mean, I don't think they're scared of either one, but probably why they're like, I'm okay on Utah.
Yeah. So, I mean, we'll see that. That's going tomorrow. I'm definitely going to be tuned into that one, as that series has just been fun to watch. And the other thing, too, man, like being able to just watch what Murray and Mitchell have been doing against each other, like going forward, man, those 2 dudes are going to be something to watch in this league, especially between each other.
They are playing out of their minds. It's amazing to see, just crazy. So, yeah, like you said, a lot of people are talking about how that rivalry or that matchup is going to be crazy to see from here on out. I think from here, like from what this little series they've been in, definitely every time they match up, it's going to be must-see TV. So, yeah, definitely. They're both playing out of their minds. I can't believe it. I can't wait to see Game 7. I think Game 7 is going to be crazy. You don't know who's going to go off for 50. Jamal Murray's hitting all type of crazy shots, spin layups, everything. If you're not watching this series, you missed a good one.
Yeah, it's the 2 greatest words in all of sports. Game 7. So back onto the Eastern Conference, the Milwaukee Bucks closed out the Orlando Magic. Pretty expected. Orlando was a little shorthanded, not having some guys there. Aaron Gordon didn't play. He actually left the bubble before that series was even over. But I want to give Orlando a little bit of praise here, specifically Markelle Fultz, man. Markelle Fultz is starting to look like a player in this league. He was averaging about 15, heavy in that rotation. At a point, I don't even think not at a point. He made it into the starting lineup there. I believe that the Orlando Magic should probably start looking to build around him and Aaron Gordon moving forward. And I just want to give that dude a lot of praise from the the flack and everything that he was taking being in Philadelphia with his shot and everything. He's starting to look like that guy that was drafted number one.
Yeah, definitely. I think, like you said, big shout out to him for whatever problems he was going to, and to be able to get back on the court and play at a high level. I think I've said it multiple times. I think he just kind of needed to get out of Philly, which is like maybe another coaching problem Philly was having or something like that. But it's unfortunate to see everything that's going on with Philly and them missing out on such a great player who's playing well in Orlando. But I think he needed to get out of there just for the simple fact that Ben Simmons was the point guard over there. For him, I said it before, for him to get his confidence back, he's going to need the ball in his hand. He was a point guard who kind of had the ball in his hand a lot. Now he's coming back. He's struggling. He was having whatever problems he was having, and now he's playing off ball. So he's trying to learn something new. He's not comfortable. He doesn't have the ball in his hand. He's not being able to run pick and rolls, maybe run the team and do things that he's used to kind of getting back in the comfort level. I thought getting him to a new team where he'd be able to do those things and kind of be their point guard and just have that ball in his hand and have that confidence again, I think as well. Which is interesting because now Philly's thinking about moving Ben Simmons off point a little more or
I
move
don't
him
think
off for
he's consistent though.
yeah.
I think
But if it,
I'm just saying, I think whoever comes in there and gets that job is going to put him back in the point guard role.
yeah, but it's like unfortunate to see for Philly because maybe if you tried that a little earlier with him, maybe things kind of worked out a little better. But it's interesting. Shout out to him for getting back. Like I said, I thought in a new situation it'd be great, and it's flourishing for him. I think Orlando, they won game one last year, they won game one this year, and then ended up getting kind of reverse sweeped out there. But shout out to them. They got something to build around. Like you said, Aaron Gordon didn't really get to play, so maybe they win an extra game or two. Probably not the series, but shout out to them. They kind of have a bright future. That they probably got some draft picks. So they draft well. They kind of, like you said, start building around those two guys. They got something there.
Yeah, they've been able to get some guys there too. Mo Bamba, Jonathan Isaac, who's now coming back from his injury. They're not going to be in a lottery, but they're gonna have another high pick. So they got some good things moving forward there, man. I do want to get to the series that started today between the Miami Heat and the Milwaukee Bucks. However, got Heat. I think I said 7. I'm changing my mind. Heat in 6. Jimmy Butler puts up 40 points in 36 minutes. Goran Dragic back in the starting 5 puts up 27. They look good out there, man. It kind of went to what we were talking about last week with the coaching duel and things like that. Whenever you saw Mike Budenholzer make a certain move with his lineup, going to certain reserves to get switches and things like that going in, Eric Spoelstra would counter with something of his own. So we got to really see that there. The Miami Heat, what I say, it's kind of a punch you in the face kind of thing. And they went out there and they did their thing.
Yeah, like you said, we're not gonna react too much over game one. It was a solid game one. It was a good win for them. I thought the Bucks would be able to come out and get game one, but Miami got it. I'm gonna stick with my pick with Bucks in 7. I can see it going 6 now, like you said. I can maybe see it going 5, but that might be crazy. I can see it going 6. So I'm gonna stay with my pick with the Bucks in 7. I can overreact too much on a game one. Like you said, it's got to be a coaching duo out there. Like I expect Budenholzer to come out and make some more changes out there. Also, it's going to be, for me, the Bucks role players have to play well. I know Chris Middleton was able to come out there and play well today, but we've seen what the Heat has been able to do to Giannis and how they've been able to slow Giannis down throughout the year. I don't think that's going to change in the playoffs. You still expect Giannis to be aggressive and things like that, but I think it's going to be even, I think, heightened in the playoffs. They're going to force those other players to have to make shots. They're going to force those other players to have to do things that they don't do and make them uncomfortable. So I think with that being said, that it's going to come down to the role players for them, and definitely Chris Middleton as that second star to be able to come out there and play well. Again, Philadelphia does not look good because Jimmy Butler is out there balling, hitting big shots. I think that's where Milwaukee might run into a problem. I talked about this in the Boston series. It comes down to who can get you a shot late in the game, especially. I think Jimmy Butler will be able to get the Heat a shot when they need it late in the game.
And he did.
Is Giannis going to be able to hit the same kind of big shots for the Bucks to keep the Bucks in the game to be able to get them to win the series? If he doesn't, the Heat are going to take him out. And if he does, then I got the Bucks. My pick for the Bucks to win will look good. But if Philly had Jimmy Butler right now, someone out there who can get them a shot late in the game, they might not be home. So Philly doesn't look good at all. There's no Philly slander out there. I'm just saying and Philly don't look good. So that's what it's going to come down to for me. The Bucks role players have to play well, and they're going to be able to have to stop Jimmy Butler late in the game because the Heat are going to give him the ball and he can create shots and things like that.
Yeah, you know what? I wanted to get into Giannis too, because one thing I noticed last playoffs, and I'm starting to see it in this game, in game one of this series. He has slowed down once postseason comes around. Stan Van Gundy even talked about it in the broadcast tonight. He hasn't really been up to par at the free throw line when you need him to in the playoffs. He shot 33% from the free throw line today. He had 18 points in total. That is not going to get it done for the Milwaukee Bucks. You touched on it already with, having that guy being able to have the ball in his hand and make those shots, down the stretch. And he didn't look like that guy tonight. They really frustrate him. That's one of the reasons why I said I could pick them over him. Like, they played that zone defense. He didn't play well from the perimeter either. Like, they just play well against him, man. And he is. I just feel more I don't want to overreact to a game one, but seeing the context of how he's looked in past performances come postseason time, like, I just feel more confident about taking my pick of the Miami Heat.
Yeah, I think it's just kind of like the same thing the Raptors will be able to do for him. I think Giannis is always going to have a little bit of struggles in the playoffs, not being able to shoot. I think a lot of people talk about that. He has to get that shot together. People not respecting that shot and sagging off of him and kind of building that wall. I think in the playoffs, it's going to be tough for him to kind of play how he plays in the regular season, kind of just voraciously going to the rim and things like that. People are going to build that wall and make it tough for him, whether they foul him. He has to get his free throwing together, especially if he doesn't have his free throw together. It's going to be tough because he's going to be at the line a lot because no one's going to let him get no easy shots, not in the playoffs. All that going to the rim type of things, it's going to either lead in fouls or it's going to be a wall there where it's going to be tough for him to make a shot. So I think till he kind of gets his shot together, he's always going to have that little struggle in the playoffs, maybe until he figures it out. But I don't really know how he kind of figures it out there. I think he's been taking more shots and things like that, but people still kind of don't respect that jump shot. Once he gets people to respect that jump shot and kind of come up closer a little more, he'll be able to create a little more and get to the rim and things like that. And then, yeah, that's probably about it. I think he's just going to struggle a little bit, especially with the Heat. The Heat played him well in the regular season. I think it'd only be worse for him in the playoffs because they had a plan for him in the regular season. Now I have time to prepare for you and really watch film and break things down and really have to focus on this series. I think the Heat definitely have something for him.
Yeah, most def, man. You're gonna have that game coming up in about not tomorrow, but the following day. He definitely got to make those adjustments, man. He's favored to win MVP. He's not playing like an MVP right now, so he's got to go out and do his thing for Milwaukee to be able to charge forward. Right now, 21-28, 9 minutes to go in the second quarter. Houston in the lead. I guess the other news that came out today is Brandon Ingram won Most Improved. How you feeling?
Last week or whenever we talked about it, I said between him and Bam, I think it'd kind of be it was kind of a pick me for me. Anyone you kind of wanted to pick, I think it was both. So I'm not too surprised, but I know you might be surprised because you kind of wanted Bam there. But yeah,
that's not the word.
So it's a great season by him to be able to come and be an all-star after everything that happened to him in LA. He kind of had the ball in his hand more now, being the main guy. I know with him, a lot of people talked about even Magic Johnson, like they see his talent, they see it in practice, they see it like that. So for him to finally able to come out and show the talent that everyone's kind of been high on him about, and him to be able to make the all-star game, it's great for him. And shout out to him for winning Most Improved.
Yeah, I think, I'm not going to hate on him or anything like that. He did his thing this year. Definitely improved from a year ago. But like kind of what you touched on with Magic Johnson and other people being around him back in the Lakers organization is we knew the talent was there. We knew how good he could be, how good he can be moving forward. And that's kind of the reason why I was leaning more towards Bam winning that award, just off of the strides that he's made, in the last from last year to this year and everything. He also made an all-star team himself, really a key player for the Miami Heat. He was actually, the way he had been progressing was kind of the reason why it was pretty easy for them to move on from Hassan Whiteside. So, that was kind of it for me. But again, well-deserved by Brandon Ingram. Shout out to him. And, we'll see how things keep going on from there. Luka Doncic was in there and just made no sense for me just because, of how good he's been, from last year to this year.
Yeah, we both talked about it. That kind of was surprising. He was kind of very good last year. So I guess he took it to another level, but it's kind of like, I don't think that was more surprising like some other picks. He definitely said that I think Devontae Graham from Charlotte should have been in there, and I kind of definitely agree with that sentiment. So I don't know why he was in there. He's going to be an MVP candidate in the next couple of years. So I guess they want to show him some love and most improved.
He should be. I mean, he was in the MVP. He wasn't. He almost sure he finished top 5 in MVP voting this year.
Maybe I don't remember. I just remember seeing the top 3. So
he's
I
going to
wouldn't
be in the conversation. So
yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he's in top 5 this year. It's definitely well deserved if he was.
Yeah, man. So I mean, that's pretty much all we got for you. We're gonna have these games going forward. We'll be able to recap everything for you coming in next week. Well, we also got some interviews for you guys, man, and we said it before, but I'm very serious. We're going to start pushing out some articles as well, man. So we got a bunch of content coming out that you guys definitely need to look out for. And yeah, Kay, you got anything else for him?
That's pretty much it. Definitely look out for what we're doing. I'm pushing some articles out. And like you said, we got a couple of interviews lined up for this week. So yeah, just make sure y'all stay tuned.
Yeah, man. So that was the rundown this week, man. It's Rich, it's Kayson. We'll catch you guys again soon.